Under the rural road ceiling,
Yes.
like the top one, we were only able to do 2.8 Ks instead of the 3.5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's just with that, with those. That's right. That is right.
So there's some more before the end of the year.
Just driven by
Yeah,
dollars
carry
rather
on some
than
of them.
just...
Yeah, I just thought it needed a bit.
3.5 was the target.
I realised that.
Yep.
So we were well below the target is what I was bringing attention to. Yeah.
So obviously it's all about the dollars, is it?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
about the rates you get.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you, Councillor Truman. Any other questions and queries of the Chief Executive? Councillor Krastowski.
Just a quick one. First of all, I'd like to echo your comments earlier on the Chief Executive's report and the achievements. And then secondly, under economic development, under the events part where we say the number of participants in events is increasing by 2% per annum. Am I correct in understanding that the actual Oxfam event has been lost up north somewhere?
That is correct, it's Whakatane.
So does that have quite a significant impact on the figures?
We're optimistic that it won't have any impact within the next 12 months.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor, what was this one? Johns?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a point of clarification on attachment 2, 3/25. Just the percentage of the portfolio for the TEL that's in registered banks. When our new policy comes into force on July the 1st, what is the percentage? Again, Alan, please.
The actual percentage per the Treasury Management Policy I'll have to check on, but all I know is we'll probably still breach it because we have got more exposure to the registered banks through the term deposits because of the lack of corporate paper in the market to invest into. So we will still be breaching that particular measurement as far as exposure to registered banks.
Because, just because I just said it notes that it's slightly higher, but I noticed that in terms of the asset allocations, and maybe I'm looking at the wrong table, it says currently between 0 and 35%, but we're at 72.
Yeah.
Am I reading?
327.
3/27.
Yeah, and that's the point I'm making as far as our investment options are concerned, as far as basically fixed interest investments concerned, there's very little out there.
Sure. Okay, so we really can't say this will not be a breach of policy then? Because that's what we say?
It is what it is.
It is I know it is what it is, but we can't make a statement in the notes that it's not a breach when it will be a breach. Bearing in mind, I understand the market conditions, but we do say there that it's not going to be a breach, which is what brought my attention to it, because I thought we've got a lot to go to. Under notes, number note 1 on 3/25.
I'll clarify that for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Your Worship,
Okay.
on
Councillor
that
Boddy?
point, would you be able to give an indication what that percentage might be? Or is it unknown fact?
I'm sorry, I don't have the Treasury Management Policy in front of me.
Because somewhere I've read that where the statement's been made that will change when the new policy comes in, which will be the 1st of July. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Alan. All right, so adjusted resolution there on 3/2 that they received the information report from the Chief Executive Officer. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Krastowski, seconded by Councillor Williamson. Thank you. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Item number 4. Asset management plans. Mr. Dennis Lewis.
Your Worship, we have here the recommendation for the adoption of the asset management plans. They are the executive summaries out of all of our asset management plans. Largely the changes are around those that occurred as a result of deliberations. And I'll take the report as read and
Thank you, Dennis.
answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Dennis. Any questions or queries for Dennis?
Your Worship.
Everyone's read it? Yep. Councillor Williamson.
Yes, just perhaps a small point on 4/7, we've got 748 residential lots in HEUs, and elsewhere we've got 788. It's just on page 4/18. It's just, for example, it's on whether
788 on both.
748 and 788, so it's either one or the other. And the demand forecast on page 4/7.
4/7 I have 788 for 2024, and on 4/18 for 2024 I have 788.
So on 4/7 it's got 748.
And the words.
Mine is 788.
748 on mine.
The words. And the wording.
Sorry.
The narrative and the wording here.
Demand forecast.
On the demand forecast, Dennis?
So change it to 788. Thank you, Councillor Williamson. I haven't got any chocolate today. But okay, any other questions or queries from Mr. Lewis? Councillor Jollins.
Thank you, Your Worship. Mr. Lewis, just a point of clarification on 4/12 under policy implications. Audit New Zealand reviewed aspects of the AMPs with particular focus on water and wastewater. Was there any particular reason or comments why the focus was on those two key areas?
Yes, that has been high priority for government, and water and wastewater, and that's why those two were chosen.
And are there any comments that you need to bring to attention at all about?
There was no significant comments received on either of the AMPs.
Thank you.
Great.
I have a number of queries.
Councillor Boddy.
Mr. Lewis, on 4/4, it states that the Taupo Township, Waireki, has 10,866 residentials, or rateable property, under our water. On 4/21, it has 10,423. I assume that persons that are getting Taupo District water would also be on the waste water, except some, of course, would have the septic tanks.
That's the answer, correct.
Reason of the difference?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other queries?
Yeah, I have a few coming up.
Yep, okay.
16, 19. Yes, Mr. Chairman, on 4/19, when we look at our proposed budget for the transport, and I assume that this document is going forward from now, 1st of July to 24-25, you have the Pouhipi Road widening and the seal extensions as, 1.57 and 3.35 or 3.75. When we go to page 43 of our long-term plan, it actually has a higher figure. It actually has the ceiling at Pouhipi Road widening 1.7, and Pouhipi Road widening, one of them is 3.8 and the other, the ceiling is 1.7. It shows in the 14-15 year minor safety works is 174. The document on page 4119 shows minor works 169 per annual average, but that's not shown in the long-term plan.
The values that are in the asset management plan are uninflated. The values that are in the long-term plan are inflated.
Okay, so that's the reason for those two differences.
Correct.
Is there a reason then why the document we're looking at the moment would not have the inflated figures?
The asset management plan deals in real dollar numbers, so that when you're looking back, you're looking at the actual cost rather than the inflated number, and you build the inflated numbers through into the long-term plan.
Councillor Williamson, sorry.
Be here all night.
So this might this probably partly answers my, it's just, clarification regarding in the expenditure graphs, the executive summaries on page 4 bar 2, it says depreciation is included in the operational expenditure or costs, but on page 449 it's in the, for the property assets, it does include depreciation on 449.
I'll need to check that one.
Councillor Boddy?
Chairman, 4 bar 49, and I know my fellow councillors will help me out. 4 bar 49 about the Turangi service delivery, relocation of the Turangi offices and Turangi eyesight. I can't remember talking about the relocation of the offices down there. At one stage we're looking to expand, so what's the reason for that?
4 bar 49, was that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So I don't have a detailed knowledge of the building yet.
There is still a project in your long-term plan to look at the different buildings down there, so that's in your long-term plan, which is where this will have come from.
So somewhere in our long-term plan, if someone can give me the page, have we allocated funding for that? Or
No, you haven't, it's just a project.
Just a project?
Yeah.
It's been a project that's been going for quite a while.
A number of years.
Yep.
On 4 bar 55, it states down the bottom of the page on point 176, the installation of a new irrigation system, Tongariro North to Main, 100,000 next year and 100,000 the year after. And yet page 51 of our long-term plan states 15, 16, 20 grand, and 16, 17, 20,000 and 81,000 the following year. Is there a reason for those differences? Because if we go to 4 bar 56, there's a difference between the Mangakino public conveniences at 141,000, yet the long-term plan stating 144,000.
I think I can answer the question about the Mangakino public conveniences. There's two projects combined in the 144,000. So that's 141 for the lakefront toilet renewal or replacement, and 3,000 for rats and mice, if you like, for repainting and minor works in the Mangakino area.
Where would that be in that document?
Which
The
document?
extra 3,000. I'm looking at agenda items 4. I didn't pick that up in the LTP. It may well be there.
Sorry, where's the 144,000 you're looking at?
On page 4 bar 56 of agenda item 4.
So that's 141.
Yeah. And in the LTP document, new toilets Mangakino 144 for the next year.
Just having a quick look at the long-term plan. So the three tools there, what's that saying? Second. Yeah, so it's wrapped up in something else, the 3,000.
3,000 renewals or new projects?
Good renewals.
Yeah. Yeah, that's renewals. Should be under renewals, not. So the additional 3,000 will be for other projects in the area, for renewal projects.
So it's actually shown as part of the figures that we have in front of us at the moment.
It's included in that 144,000.
Yeah, so in the camping schedule, it's got 144 and the AMP's got 141. But the additional 3 is under works. I guess what he's trying to do is...
Okay, well, perhaps, I mean...
Yeah.
It's $3,000.
$3,000.
We'll clarify after the...
Well, yeah, I think
We'll look
just
into
in case of expediency, just, can we if you've got a particular query, can we get a, perhaps a technical proper answer, probably, instead of just, going here, probably. Just, have you got another question, John?
Well, I was just going to continue, John, sorry. With the irrigation one, we're showing 100 grand for 2 years, yet it's shown in the long-term plan 20 and 81,000. On page 4 bar 57, it talks about renewals for the irrigation, and yet we're putting in a new system. So how does that one work?
On 4 bar 55, that's an error. That's not what was in the executive summary.
And it wasn't in the last draft either. It's in this.
No. What's happened is that project has been pushed back a year from the 15-16 year to the 16-17 year in order to provide some additional funding for the projects that were brought forward. So that should be strike through in year 15-16 and it should appear in year 16-17, that project.
Well, it does, but it makes the figures for 15-16 out by 100 grand without any other. There are a few other minor ones where one was 35, it's shown in the document, long-term plan is 36. So effectively those figures are not correct, but the long-term plan figures will be.
Don't forget the long-term plan figures are inflated. The AMP figures are not inflated.
Well, the long-term...
There's a discrepancy, it may be explained by inflation.
But the long-term plan is showing 20,000, 15, 16, 81,000, which gives you your total of 100, but we're still 100,000 out somewhere. So I'm just wondering if the long-term plan at the end of the day, if those figures are correct, it's not an issue. But if we're reading this, that's in conjunction with the long-term plan and the figures don't match. That's really my query.
There's an error in here.
Yeah, there's probably a discrepancy between what's in the AMP and what's in the long-term.
Through the chair, the long-term plan is the actual numbers. So the long-term plan is the Bible.
What's the budget?
Yes.
It's the
long-term plan is what's going to happen. The AMP is what we as staff say should be happening, which is what the long-term plan is based on. Now, if the long-term plan doesn't exactly reflect our recommendations, then so be it.
I get a little bit confused because at least 2 drafts ago they'd mentioned 100. It's only the second to last draft, and then the long-term plan that's now broken it up into the 2 years. So I just struggle with figures that change, and I'm not quite sure why they do.
Well, the only reason it's not over 2 years, it should have been shifted from 1 year to the other. That hasn't been accurately reflected in this.
Well, it's 100 grand out.
Shouldn't have been split up over 2 years.
I mean, through the chair, I can see that an error has just been made in transcribing. I guess it's just getting the level of confidence that it's been captured correctly in the LTP numbers. Would that be correct?
Okay.
Well, just finally, Mr. Chairman, this is to do with the wording. If we go to 4 bar 59, total expenditure across all categories is the headline of the graphs. Then on 4 bar 66, it states projected expenditure across all categories. So is that still supposed to be there or not?
Sorry?
There's the one on page 466. I'm wondering whether the words are saying the same thing. One says total expenditure across all categories. The other says total projected expenditure.
It's been deleted, isn't it?
That whole section's been struck out.
Oh, well, it would have been helpful that it had a blue line through it.
Yeah, all the writings.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay. Any other questions, Councillor Buddy?
No.
Okay. Thank you very much. No other questions or queries of Mr. Lewis? Thank you, Alison. Okay, suggested resolution there. the asset management plans for water, transport, wastewater, solid waste, stormwater properties and facilities and parks and reserves be adopted. Moved by Councillor Williamson, seconded by Councillor Boddy. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried.